Yeah, we're recording.
What's good, people? Thank you for blessing yourself to something nice. It's your boy Durag Sweezy.
And your girl Varsha, and we're coming live with some great conversation, trying to share more narratives, trying to open the space for more conversation of different
Fact.
kinds. Okay, so before we start, I think we should kind of let you guys know what kind of content to expect, why we're doing this, because this is something I think both Suzy and I have been wanting to do for a while now.
A minute now. Too long.
Yeah, and it's so random that we both had very similar kinds of, like, the conversations we were trying to have were along the same line. I would say, like, they were, you know, like, we have we're on a similar wavelength in terms of thinking as well. And I think we take a lot of comfort in being in these uncomfortable conversations. Like, I enjoy having.
Oh,
What would you say?
I think, yeah, so I think the purpose of something nice is really and truly to just continue having these long ass conversations and, just, I guess, broaden the perspectives and the horizons that we could, expect and usually be exposed to. So we're looking to have people from like anywhere and everywhere. And just chop it up, have some good conversations, talk about literally anything and everything. So
Yeah, agreed. Um, yeah, so
that's dope.
expect some interesting perspectives to interesting conversation. And I would just say listen, like, be open-minded and listen. It's one thing to be liberal, but it's one thing to be open-minded. So just stay open-minded and listen and hear out and hear, like, just hear someone before you speak. So, and we're gonna try get some guests on, like, get some people with different perspectives to
That's
contribute.
why you have two ears and one mouth.
Yeah,
Listen when you
that
speak.
is, yeah, I agree. Yeah.
As
um
the old lady would say.
True, that is true though. So yeah, definitely. um Thank you for staying this long already. I appreciate it.
This is the worst part. Once they get through this part, I swear it gets better. I hope so at least.
Yeah, okay, I'm
And
glad. So yeah, how did we come up with
what do we
something nice? Do you want to tell them Susie actually came up with something nice?
Yeah, because it was on Twitter actually. Let me try to remember the handles so I can shout them out one time.
Okay,
I
okay,
believe it was this guy called Kwame Weeks
okay.
and this girl called, I think her name on Twitter is Horio, like Horio, like
Okay. Yeah,
WHOREO.
yeah.
Yeah, but there's no two Trinidadian people for sure. And like I just saw this post is basically talking about this like this she said she went to the therapist and the therapist told her to treat herself to something nice and she was like, damn, you are something nice. And that's basically the same concept as this podcast. This is the something nice you're treating yourself to. So if your therapist told you to treat yourself to something nice, come listen to this. And this is actually free, unlike your therapist. So
Yeah,
win-win situation.
yeah. Um, 3 ways to escape your mind. Listen to. So yeah.
Thanks.
Um, Okay, cool, sweet. Yeah, so like I said, like, we've been meaning to do this for a while. I've been trying to get a podcast going for, like, since the beginning of this year, to be honest. And then I'm so glad that when I told Akhil about this, he was like, yeah, he was
Don't
so
give them my real name, bro. Just cut that part out.
cut that.
I'm done.
Yeah, and when I told him
I'm
about
dead.
it, he like jumped on it, which I'm hella grateful for, because I low-key can't think. I like, now that I think about it, like, I don't know who else I could imagine just talking about this stuff with on a regular. So
Facts. But yeah, we don't need all this sentimental shit. Let's get to it. I'm joking. I'm joking.
let
That was rude
let
as
the
hell.
listeners love. You're such a hater. Let the listeners feel the love.
Uh,
Okay, okay. Now
okay,
let's.
let's let's
I agree.
let's get.
So, what are we talking about today?
I mean, you have to introduce it.
Okay, so today, something that I think constantly has been on my mind for a while, and I think everybody thinks about this kind of stuff now that the world is becoming super internationalized and global, and borders are slowly being erased, and cultures are breeding and mixing. You know, you've got people knowing about stuff from other cultures that they would have never come across for various reasons through various platforms. But the biggest question that always comes about is, when do we draw the line for cultural appropriation, and when is cultural appropriation just being culturally sensitive, and the difference between those two? So yeah, so today's topic, I guess, so today's theme around today's podcast is to talk about cultural appropriation versus cultural sensitivity.
Okay. You want me to go to it first?
Yeah, did you so I actually kind of googled what cultural appropriation is. What did you get a definition?
I could get one now.
Okay, get one now.
So, according to Google, cultural appropriation is the unacknowledged or inappropriate adoption of customs, practices, or ideas of one people or society by members of another, typically more dominant people or society.
Mm.
Hmm.
Hmm. And
Yeah, that's a deep one.
cultural sensitivity is being aware that cultural differences and similarities exist without assigning them a value, positive or negative, better or worse, or right or wrong. So yeah, I
I
don't know.
mean,
Okay, go.
okay, yeah. So, cultural appropriation, that's always a very iffy subject to talk about. I feel like in today's climate, people are more and more, I would say, cautious about appreciating or, I guess, engaging themselves in other cultures. And in my opinion, I feel like that is that shouldn't be, that shouldn't be the goal of it, because at the end of the day, the world is getting smaller and smaller, and accessing stuff that is completely outside of your culture is easier than ever, today. Like originally, when a lot of traditional customs were made, like the world was much more divided, so that's why it was much more shocking to, I guess,
Learn
see
about
and
them.
experience about different cultures. Yeah, so
Yeah.
I feel like it's almost inevitable in some effect. I feel like the important thing that people need to understand, I guess, in cultural appropriation versus cultural sensitivity is, like, I would say, power and like profit. So I feel like, like people really, like, I guess the group that is, I guess, um accused of cultural appropriation, the most people say, I guess, is white people. And I guess that's also because I guess they have the least amount of leeway because they are the most powerful, like, I guess, group in society. So yeah, I feel like the big difference for me is when people are profiting, or let's say they're using the culture inappropriately. And I feel like that is like very important to distinguish that just from, everyday occurrences,
Yeah.
and just everyday individual life experience, because I feel like once is affecting like a mass a mass audience, or like, it's something that's presented to the masses, that is more appropriate, to bring up the topic of cultural appropriation or not, but in just the terms of everyday like individual occurrences, like unless there's a direct or like blatant attempt to disrespect, then I feel like there should be much more leeway and like much more understanding and like compassion in dealing with these situations. I don't know. I was going on for a while. You wanna? I don't know if you wanna. If there's even anything to dissect there,
Yeah,
or what.
I mean, I agree with you. I definitely agree with you in the sense that like we want to erase the concept of a border. We want to erase the concept of there being, I mean, differences being the reason to segregate. Do you know what I mean? That's what we want to erase, that just because we're different, we shouldn't be categorizing and putting us into these different labels and different boxes. And the nice thing about culture is it's so fluid, right? It's supposed to be fluid. It's like gender to me. Every concept is fluid because at the end of the day, like, perspectives and the way you interpret things are so different. But with the thing with cultural appropriation in particular that I think is really interesting is most of the time people who are the ones appropriating are not even conscious that they might be appropriating, because
Okay.
the boundary is so blurred. Do you know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
we call out certain things but we don't call out other things, which, so like, where do you draw the line? What is cultural appropriation, what isn't? And when the world is, we are moving towards a globalized and interconnected world, when we want cultures to collide and be a part of each other and learn from each other, shouldn't we be encouraging such kind of cultural exchange in terms of outfits, in terms of hair, in terms of dance, music, like art, every form of expression? Do you know what I mean? So
Yeah.
yeah, I don't know. I think the biggest question always remains where you draw the lines. And I love that you paid particular, like you specifically mentioned power, and what was the other one you mentioned? Power and profit.
Profit.
Yeah, those are really important, power and profit, because that that's where I think I draw the cultural line of appropriation. Because if you're going to profit off of a particular culture without giving them their due, or, you know, giving them their pedestal, I think that is cultural appropriation. But yeah, I don't know, it's a very like,
I don't know. Yeah. I don't know, maybe we should look at some real examples.
yeah,
So
let's discuss.
what
So
is something to,
I actually got a bunch of things up, dude. So the first thing I
okay, wait, hold on.
want
Let
to
me
talk
ask you a
about,
question. Let
okay,
me
go,
ask you a question.
go.
So I want you to show us like something that you consider actual cultural appropriation. Let's
No,
see, where's the line for you?
see, that's the thing. I don't think I have found that line. Like,
For real.
yeah, personally, I don't think
Okay.
I have found that line.
I have examples
No,
then.
actually, I'm lying. I know what that line is. No, 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 no.
Damn, make up your mind.
I'm
Do you
lying.
wanna go?
I know what that line is because,
Tell it, say it. Go
okay,
then.
I'll say it. I have a problem with things like the West, and I'm just like generalizing the West when I say the West. But of course, like, I have a problem with the West, like, consistently making fun of Indians, like the Indian accent, the smell of food, the clothing, the culture, this. It's so easy to pick on as a culture and a group of people, but like, they love yoga, they love Ayurvedic medicine, they love burning incense, they love you know, playing with crystals. Like, for me, that's cultural appropriation. And then
Okay.
I personally know people who've like gone on these like yoga retreats to like Sri Lanka and India, and they're like, I am a new individual and I like have decided to like go on and start my spiritual journey as Anandi, and now I will always be known as Anandi. And I'm like, shut the hell up. Like, because you know, I have a problem when they don't pay respect to the culture the right way. And actually, I have an example of cultural appropriation I can show you right now. Should I share my screen?
Sure.
Okay, so have you heard of Blackpink, K-pop, like the girl group, the K-pop girl group?
No, I don't.
So hold on, let me find the,
Because I have some questions to ask you after you show this.
okay.
Don't think you could just get it so easy.
No, of course not. My entire, like, my line is like very extreme, like, because I accept a lot of things. And to be honest, like, I'm pretty sure a lot of people, without knowing who I am or like where I've been raised or how I've been raised, can come up to some of the stuff that I say or do and be like, that's cultural appropriation. But you know, it's because I think they don't know the whole story, they don't know the whole of me. And so the line for me is like very, very very frail as its existence. Hold on, where is this article? I literally had it. It's a video, by the way. It's a YouTube video. Oh, here it is. So okay, I'm gonna share my screen. Okay, can you see the screen?
Yeah, I can see.
So basically, for those who don't know, like I'm not a K-pop fan at all. I think the wave kind of missed me. Like when it was going around the world, I just like kind of like became non-existent. But I don't know. I'm not a huge fan of K-pop, but this came to my attention because obviously like I saw it and I was like, that actually bothers me because I think that's cultural appropriation. So they had a music video to the song How You Like That, and what do you see? What can I, before I even point it out? Okay, like what?
Yeah, I see a genie.
A genie? Yeah, well, the Aladdin lamp. Yeah, like there's a lot of that. But so this little idol over here, this is Lord Ganesh, who is like the remover of
Let me guess.
obstacles, and he's the elephant-headed god in Hindu culture and Buddhism. Like a lot of Buddhists also believe in him. And basically, this is a god. Like this is a sculpted image of a god. And one, like it's just been casually played in a music video that is singing about some, I don't know, other random shit, and the choreography or the outfit is not respectful to the presence of a god per se, and it's just on the floor, and it's like that is disrespectful. For me, that is disrespectful. And that angered me, and it angered me that no one was calling it out. Like the world.
Did you watch the full music video?
Yeah, I watched the full music video.
Okay.
Like this is just a screen grab from the video, and it was easier to do this than go on YouTube.
Yeah, I mean, it's like, so I was gonna ask if this is in the entire video. You feel if this is the concept of the
it is.
whole
It is
video.
the entire music video. Like if you go onto Blackpink, this is the scene, and it has a statue of Ganesha in it. So I think for me, that's cultural appropriation. Like that's where I drew the line for me. And I think it was, again, I think it was really easy for me to draw this line because I think I associate it to my culture. So I was easily able to like be like, no, I think that's disrespectful. So for me, that's cultural appropriation.
Okay, I mean, I feel like this is like a typical example, you know, like, because firstly, they're making profit off of this video, like, you know, it's a music video for like a big production company. And then as well as the fact that like, you know, it's like definitely like not made with like actual regard or like appreciation for the culture that is taken from, because like if that was the case, if they were actually like, let's say, knowledgeable about Hindu culture, they wouldn't put that god on the ground, you know, and like use this stuff in a stereotypical way. So I feel like that's like the classic example
Classic
of like,
example. Yeah, true.
that is appropriate use of appropriation.
Yeah, exactly, right. So I just think that's cultural appropriation.
Okay. Well, now let me question you on what you said before. Right? So you said you don't like the fact that like people from the West would make fun of Indian people and like different stereotypes, but then they would still like, you know, do yoga, drink chai tea, whatever.
Yeah.
Like, you know, go to these trips. But isn't that how you phrase that in some way like a generalization? Because you're saying like, because certain, like, I guess Western people do this, that means like you associate all of them to be like appropriate in the culture. Like, do you think? Okay, hold on. You didn't even let me finish the question. You didn't let me finish the question, bro. You didn't let me finish the question. Come on. You didn't let me finish the question.
Okay, go.
Like, fuck. Like, don't you think you don't think that any of the people that are consuming the Indian culture would be doing so in an authentic way?
No, I'm saying it's definitely possible that they could be. Like when I did say that, I definitely did make a generalization. That's why I said like the West. It's easy to hate on the white people when it comes to cultural appropriation. You are right, and I actually just did that. So yeah, I agree.
Yeah, that's why I asked you that, because I feel like in that, like, by you saying like that sentence like that, you could apply that in like a lot of different ways, you know. Like you could just say, you know, you could just use that to I guess stereotype, not stereotype, that's not the correct word, but like to generalize and like, you know, Like, it's an easy
Generalize
target.
the whole
It's a
prejudice.
very easy target
I
because yes, there are a lot of ignorant American. I feel like there's like, okay, there's a group. These are people that are just ignorant about the situation. There's
yeah.
the other people that are, let's say, authentic, right? And
Mhm.
then there's in the middle, there's the people that like, I guess, consume or use the culture.
Yeah.
Like I feel like there's a difference between those that are actually invested and like those that just see it there as convenient, but like when they can, they shit on it.
Yes, 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 yes,
And
yes.
I feel like people need to be able to realize that difference in their day-to-day lives, like when they're calling on people, because I feel like you could use that logic to basically call out anyone.
No, but I think what I mainly meant by grouping such a stereotype is because, like, firstly, I don't think there's a problem with stereotyping because everybody learns off of a stereotype. That's how cultures are spread, through stereotypes. It's like it's a proven example. Everybody knows something about a culture because of stereotypes, but to hold that stereotype to a positive or a negative is where the problem lies, right? It's
Yeah,
not
and I feel
about
like some, like that's just really true stereotypes, because a lot of stereotypes are also untrue, and
exactly.
there's a difference.
Exactly. So it's about not holding on to that stereotype, but holding on to that stereotype um, to understand where those stereotypes may come from, why certain people will view those people that way, to consider those stereotypes. But coming back on the tangent, you're right. I shouldn't have generalized, but I agree. Like, why I get like upset or like angry about it is because, you know, if you're gonna take something from a culture, like if you're gonna partake in something in a culture or contribute to it in your way, you can't, in my opinion, um, you can't be a bit of a hypocrite. Like you can't, um, you shouldn't be able to like mock Indian food, but then go out at night and order, a butter chicken and naan bread. Like, do you know what I mean? For me, that's
Yeah,
a bit of a hypocrite, and you're being a hypocrite because like you actually enjoy the culture and you partake in the culture, but you still hold on to like a strong stereotyping at the end of the day. You still hold on to a strong negative a connotative image that's mocking the culture and disrespecting it. That I don't like that I don't tolerate. Like I can't. Not just, it's easy for me to relate to this to Indian culture, but any culture per se. Like, do you know what I mean? For me,
okay.
like you shouldn't be able to, you can't be a hypocrite with what you choose to take and what you don't. Like you can't like certain parts and then dislike the others. Not,
Yeah,
you can dislike, but you can't um shame the other parts. You can't
yeah,
take the parts you want and then disregard the parts, because it's a whole package. Do you get what I'm saying? So
yeah.
for me, like, I don't know if I would call that cultural appropriation, but I definitely think that is disrespecting culture in a certain way.
Okay, so do you think there are certain times that people cannot like engage with a culture?
No, I don't think that at all.
Okay,
I think
so
I think anybody can engage with any culture at any time as long as they do so in a respectful manner, willing to partake. Do you know what I mean? If you're
yeah,
As long as it's that's totally fine. Like, but if you're going to do it for the sake of, I don't know. Do you get what I'm trying to say? I feel like if I go on
mm,
to add more.
yeah. I feel like what you mean is like in like one way is like you actually just, I guess, appreciate and or like understanding a culture that's not yours, but like in other ways it could be harmful in the sense like, I guess it's back to the same point of like power and profit.
Power and
Like,
profit.
so like for example, something I would say is like real cultural appropriation is now starting to change, but like the fact that like these NFL teams are called like Kansas City Chiefs, Washington Redskins. Like Redskins is like was literally considered like a slur.
A
I don't
slur.
know if it still is considered a slur, but I know people who sure definitely consider it like, maybe I should not say it. Yeah, let me
Yeah.
just say the Washington football team. Yeah.
Yeah.
Anyway, yeah. I hope I didn't cancel myself there. I
Yeah.
hope I didn't cancel
I
myself,
get
but
it.
yeah. Shout out my Native American homies. You know what it is.
Yeah.
Anyway, but yeah. I feel like no, that is actual like that as like cultural appropriation because like they be actually wearing like like these like significant like ceremonial like headsets and
Yeah,
like they be getting drunk as fuck and like doing all that shit like it is I feel like it's not true to where the culture like it's like using them as a mascot
yeah,
is a cheater using them as a mascot
that
so
is so true.
that
I agree. I
that
would
I
call
feel
that
like
cultural appropriation as well.
that I feel especially because like Native American people for like the most part they're not even respected in American society. Like bro, everyone is talking about true American, that's true American. They are the real
They are the
Americans.
real Americans. Yeah, it's true.
Like no one is a more true American than a Native American. Like and it's like they are
Yeah,
basically never like you never see America. Like someone outside of America will never think of the United States of America, and let me call it United States because there's also like
different parts
America, the
of
concept.
America. Yeah,
Anyway, yeah, but that's a whole next conversation.
yeah.
But no one will ever see the U.S. and think instantly, oh yeah, Native American.
No, that's
Never.
that's not the image that's portrayed at all. Also, like
Exactly.
how much of the native population is still alive? Like,
I'm pretty sure it's definitely like less than like 5%.
yeah, like it's a
Like I mean, at least of the entire population of America is definitely like less than 5% of their population.
oh surely. I would believe that. I would believe that number. Yeah,
Like I
exactly.
feel like a five is even a high number, maybe. Let me
And
check.
it's just ridiculous that they're barely yeah, I would definitely call that cultural appropriation. For me, that is cultural appropriation. Okay, but I have questions where I have examples where other people have called these people out for culturally appropriating or have called their actions cultural appropriation, but I personally don't think it.
Wait, let me just button real quick. So Native Americans make up 1.1% of the US population.
1.1%.
1.01% actually, sorry. 1.01%.
That is, oh my god, that is so
So
my.
yeah, they remove 99% of the people on the land. But yeah, this is good
How
conversation
messed
for
up is
next
that?
year.
Like, how messed up is that?
Don't worry, you'll have a day. We'll have a day to shout out our Native American
Yeah, for real,
peoples.
for real. Like
You
this,
know,
that conversation is really, really big as well.
yeah, but shout out to the Native Americans, the true Americans. Don't let
True
anyone say
American
anything different.
people of the land,
Yes, sir.
the real people
Anyway,
of the land. Um,
yeah, but sorry, you said you had some examples.
of people calling stuff cultural appropriation, but I wouldn't call it cultural appropriation.
Let's say,
Well, I personally wouldn't. I don't know. I think a lot of people have, but I personally wouldn't. Like for me, this the Coldplay "Hymn for the Weekend" video is not cultural appropriation.
that the one with Beyonce.
Yeah, I wouldn't call it cultural appropriate. I mean, I understand why people
You
would.
have a picture.
Yeah,
I see.
let me go back. I understand why people would, but I personally, like in case you
Okay,
can't,
if you say you understand why people would, why do you understand why people would?
because it comes down to like the concept of profiting off of a minority culture. Like, do you know what I mean? The biggest thing, the biggest key aspect of cultural appropriation is who is appropriating who, right? Whom is appropriating whom? Like, or I messed up that English, but you get what I'm saying.
Mm.
Because when it's a group of who've had a bigger pedestal in society, have more power, have more influence and affluence, if they are profiting and appropriating a smaller minority culture, that's a bigger deal. Because do you know what I mean? So
Yeah.
in, in this case, in this case, it's Coldplay, this big like band that has followers and fans all over the world appropriating Indian culture. Again, like I just look at this video.
Okay.
I just look at this video and I look down at their credits, and like there's no particular aspect of why they're showing that they had to shoot this particular video in India, incorporating temples and the festival of Holi, and the aspects of like a little small town India. Look at this is Beyonce in the video, you know, wearing henna, a traditional Indian like bridal attire, the jewelry, you know, like all of that, some people might find it as cultural appropriating because it is a culture coming in using their culture to show a narrative that they want to show, you know. This may not be the real narrative of the people living in that town, or this is not how India may be as a whole, but this is the narrative that they've chosen to show. So some people might find this cultural appropriation for that very reason. Like, but he came to India. This entire video is shot in India. They start off with sages at this old like rock temple. Like, you know, people might actually find that stuff offensive because they're like, oh, but what does he know about this culture that he's trying to show? Like, because they've given no insight to the making of this video or their reasons for these choices. And so it's easy to call this out as cultural appropriation. I personally don't think it is at all. I mean, seeing Beyonce, like Queen Bee, wearing henna and like wearing mehndi, wearing the traditional attire, like jewelry in a gagra, like I'm like, wow, like Beyonce dressed up in Indian culture, that is like dope. That's cool. They came and celebrated Holi. They have videos, like they've you know, the Kathakali dancer. Like I think that's amazing. I think that's really cool. But I don't. For me, that isn't cultural appropriation. But I see why.
Yeah, I feel like it can be both though. I feel like you could see where people get the idea, but
Idea from, yeah.
you know, because I feel like because if you leave that space to call it cultural appropriation, like let's say even if you don't feel like it's cultural appropriation,
Mm-hmm.
then basically anything that's cultural appropriation, one person can say this is offensive to me, and the next person says this is not offensive to me, and then like where does that leave? Like, you know, I feel like that leaves it at where it began, you know, like where the issue began.
Yeah.
You feel I feel like okay, I understand why you may feel offense, but I feel like there should be like not necessarily like a, let's say, a solid line, like okay, at this point is cool, at this point is not, is like, you know, not cool, but like there should be a like some point of understanding, you know, like I feel like we kind of remove, like by doing that, like we kind of remove, like, you know, not saying that everyone deserves the benefit of the doubt, but like I guess it makes us less trusting of each other, and like we just kind of like the instant go-to thing is like they're doing this for like a malicious reason to profit
Yeah.
off of,
For
you
self.
know, and like, and that's not, I feel like that's not the climate we want to be in, you know, where
No.
if any, like where that is the first like interpretation, you know, not everyone is going to get the chance to sit down and talk to them like, why did you do this video, like, you know, what was your inspiration, but like if there's
I
that.
I think Coldplay should have done like some. I mean, I don't know if they did, but
Yeah, I definitely agree that they should have done some more, you know,
like
like they.
by showcasing India in this culture and this light, like I think they've done it in a very beautiful way. Like for sure, the kids playing Holi, they've captured like the innocence of youth and the, you know, the life of light, and like, you know, him for the weekend. So they've done it in a, you know, they've shot at temples, they've shot traditional classical dance forms, they do Bharatanatyam and Kathakali, like all of that is really cool for me. And they've almost paid homage in a way to the Hindu culture here, and I see that. But um yeah, like
I don't
it
know, like
it's
what you.
going both ways.
Yeah, like what you're gonna say just made me think of another question, right? So does that mean that if like okay, let's say, because you remember the two main points, I guess, are power and profit, right?
But yeah.
Let's say if it's like you, if you are going to profit off of this, are you saying that you think it'll be appropriate? Let's say the only time you can say is appropriate in all, like all cases, is like if someone from that culture is like directly involved to the point where like they're
Yeah,
credited.
yeah, exactly.
So
So I'm
so okay,
curious
let
to
me,
know.
so does that mean okay, so if you know, like let's assume, right, Coldplay, they don't really know that much about India,
Yeah.
but they spent some time in India, like damn, this place is so beautiful. Let's get the people from it. Because I mean,
Yeah,
maybe they didn't hire like, you know, anybody like on their production team, but
yeah.
I'm sure like the actors, of course, all the actors are Indian. Like I'm sure like a lot more of the on the ground work was definitely much more integrated with the community, you know, kind of thing. I like, you know, obviously you can't tell to like, I guess how much they gave there, like how the actual interaction was with the people. But I don't know. I feel like, do you feel like it has to tick all those boxes to the point where even if people like, you know, like, because these are genuine Indian people,
Mm-hmm.
like portraying the culture for the most part, you know, like aside from Beyonce, like almost everyone else that actually is like, you know, dressed up in Indian clothes, like dancing is Indian, you know. So
That is true. I think all of that definitely
so
played a part in why I don't think this is cultural appropriation. I have to be honest.
yeah,
I think
yeah,
all of that definitely played a part. In fact, that's why I think like this particular video, in my opinion, pays homage. Like it pays respect. It pays its tribute to
okay,
um in what Hindu culture is, like things like that. Was Beyonce needed in the video to particularly play that role? That is a question out there.
yeah,
But
and
like
yeah,
yeah, like there are other aspects. The thing is, that's the thing, right? I think we make these assumptions and we call out these accusatory sort of labels really really quickly. Like I would love to actually have gained an insight on why Coldplay decided to shoot this video this particular way, why they wanted to do it in India, what was their reason for their concept. Like I'm actually curious to know more
yeah,
than I am to sit down and say, why are you taking part in my culture? I'm so happy they're taking part in my culture. Like I'm like,
yeah,
what? Coldplay came to India to shoot a music video? That is dope. Like that's really cool. Oh, Coldplay got a bunch of Kathakali and Bharatanatyam artists to perform in this video for, even if it's like for 10 seconds, that's cool. A bunch of kids were running around playing Holi. Like, yeah, maybe they didn't, but okay, this is where like the big questions need to be asked, right? Coldplay probably made a profit off of this video of, I don't know, like millions, you know, for sure. And
it has a billion views, so
a billion views. So easily they
probably
got some money through this. And how much of that profit was actually given to the people who made this video, like who were part of this video? They probably got like the most minute amount, like the littlest, the
yeah,
amount that
exactly.
Beyonce would have been paid for featuring this video versus the amount, you know what I mean? Yeah, Beyonce is a big star, like no, but I'm just saying, like, whereas
Mhm.
they are the people portraying their true culture, but they would not have gotten the same level of profit from this video as Coldplay has made off of them by using them in this video, using their
Yeah,
art form. So
yeah.
that is something definitely to take into consideration. But
Yeah, I mean, once money is involved, you know, it's kind of. I feel like once money is involved, you could say in some sense that you almost kind of have like, I guess, the right in some way to call
yeah,
the cultural appropriation card. But I
100%.
feel like that shouldn't be the go-to, you know, that shouldn't be the status quo of
That's
as in
cool.
just to go to people's necks. I feel like in some way or form, like however we can, we should put pressure on these like profiters to, you know, give back to what it is they're gaining from.
Mm-hmm.
But I mean, at the end of the day, bro, you could say this goes in all directions every single day, you know. So it's like, like, at what points do you, because you know, you could say something like a movie simple as Black Panther. You could say Black American people are profiting off of African culture because what they do in America doesn't affect those people in Africa that the culture they're representing in any way, you know.
True. That's something.
So I mean, you know, that's a next example is Black Panther cultural appropriation because that's one of the biggest movies ever. How many of those tribes that they took, you know, inspiration from? How many of those tribes got any payouts?
That's
I
true.
mean, you could check it out. I
I
mean, I
think
don't know.
I think with Black Panther, it fit like this huge need for representation. Not even a need, like I want a word that is more than need. This huge, desperate cry for representation. Black Panther like came into that hole and fixed it. You know what I mean? Because Black culture and African culture is heavily underrepresented in the Hollywood industry. And so a movie like Black Panther with an all-star Black cast with genuine research going into like this most minute thing of costume and a feather this way or a print that way or a dot on the head. Like there was so much genuine research that went into it. Like that is one of the reasons why a lot of it satisfied this need for representation, because it very much existed, like that hole existed, that a lot of people were like, oh, like Wakanda, Black Panther, not really cultural appropriation. But I did meet a lot of people who thought, and now this is a very interesting term that I actually came off, they call it Wakandification, where they've just homogenized Africa. Like it's not 55 countries anymore, it's just like 54, well 55 South Sudan, but you know, like it's just this one big one big country with like a merge of cultures and like customs and localities and traditions. So they call it Wakandification. They'll be like, yeah, like Beyonce is done in Black is King, they'll be like, that's Wakandification. But I don't know if
I have some answers.
Yeah, answer.
Finish what you're gonna say.
I was gonna say, like, I don't know if to what extent, like, because like representation was so desperately needed at that point that we took it, and I thought it was amazing. I thought Black Panther was a phenomenal movie. Like, I think it's gonna come and be remembered generations to come. But it does beg that question of whether by homogenifying the whole of Africa, like by just grouping all these cultures into one like combo version of like for like the rest of the world to accept, they've kind of lost the entire diversity and richness of the continent and the different countries and customs and localities and languages. But Black Panther was pretty good in my opinion. It's film. At the end of the day, it's a film industry, and they were as authentic as they could be while portraying an alternate world, like an alternate universe, like this dystopian. You know what I mean? I thought that was really cool.
Yeah. Let me say what I was gonna say, right?
There you go.
Firstly, I wanna say, like, again, I feel like I always say this, but I get where people are coming from. Like there's not to discredit anything, like anyone's feelings or whatever. No. But like, firstly, I feel like in terms of Wakandification, like the same people that are Wakandifying like Africa, I feel like they always looked at Africa as a country. Like Africa is very, like, I feel like throughout my entire life, like you barely, unless a person is actually from somewhere in like a specific country, like you hear people reference countries, but like I feel like outside of Africa, like it's just like that's always been a thing, you know. People always group Africa as just like Africa.
Yeah, it's just it's
like, you know, so I feel like this is not a new thing, you know. I feel like this has always been this is like like maybe it's less of a thing even now than it was before, you know, because like I feel like it's always been just like especially for like the ignorant people that call it Africa. Oh yeah, like go save a kid in Africa. We're in Africa.
Yeah,
you know, like we're you know.
You just shit on Africa as a whole. Like, you know how many times like I'll say, yeah, I'm from Botswana, and people will be like, where? Like, what?
Yeah, like people don't really know country. People know Nigeria, I'm pretty sure. Well, it's
people
Egypt.
Know Nigeria, people know Ghana.
Egypt, like South Africa.
Yeah.
But like there's so many places in Africa, people will be like, what? Where
is that? Someone asked me the other day, like probably like 5-6 months ago, they were like, oh yeah, like where are you from? And I was like, oh yeah, I'm from Botswana. They were like, oh, like where in Indonesia is Botswana? And I was like, excuse me, like what did you?
Oh my god, what?
No, people in their geography. But anyway, that's a whole topic.
Yeah, that's anyway. But yeah, anyway, so that's what I feel like to those people that say like Black is King and Black Panther will canonize Africa. Like I feel like that was always a thing, you know. So
but okay,
I feel like that's something we need to work on regardless. But like there's my problem with Black Panther, like people praising so much about Black Panther. Like most people that watch Black Panther, they're not doing anything about Africa at all. They did not, like, you literally like is at the end of the day is a Marvel superhero movie.
Yeah.
You know, like the storyline about that superhero universe is more important than any of the actual representation, bro. Like I know in Trinidad personally, there were people like wearing dashikis and like they start chanting like, "Oh my god!" Like when they saw all the different like tribes and like all the different tribal wear. If you
Yeah.
ask the average person what tribes they just saw, where these tribes come from in Africa, no idea,
Yeah.
no idea. I'm sure if you call some of the countries some of these tribes come from, they don't even know those countries.
No, they don't.
So that's why I feel like, like, uh, like people, like yes, it's important to have representation, especially in that type of movie, but
Yeah.
like that is not the thing I think we should be focusing. Like I feel like a black movie that everybody, like all black people, should be like reveling about more than Black Panther is a movie like Moonlight. I
Agree.
feel like Moonlight is an actual movie that
I
shows something in the black community that needs to be addressed, something that needs to be seen, something that needs to be talked about, you know, because there's so many black people that are so homophobic. I mean, that's not just say only black people, like the people of every race are homophobic, but this is something, if people are dying for representation, this is the definition of representation, at least in my my opinion. You see in black people and they're not being portrayed in these stereotypical ways that they're always portrayed, you know, because these are the type of things people care about, you know, the ones that are upset. You know, I don't care if black people are seen as drug dealers or gangsters because they're all black people like that, but you can't say that that doesn't exist. You know, they are like, that's not what the only thing we are, you know, so I feel like
don't
we should.
limit. Yeah, don't limit someone to one.
Give me a sec. Hold up. Can we pause this for a sec?
Uh, okay, I'm recording again. Okay, something else that I wanted to mention because you like mentioned Black is King before as well, and about representation and. I don't have a problem with this effort to like represent, like Beyonce, for example, like paying homage to her Yoruba um, ancestry, you know, and like choosing to
You think
feature.
she took a DNA test?
Yeah, apparently. So apparently, she's actually like her bloodline goes back to Haiti, and Haiti has a lot of Yoruba culture.
You mean Haiti? Okay, okay. I was sorry. Sorry
What
if
did
you
you
said that different. You said Haiti, and I didn't realize you're talking about Haiti.
Oh yeah, sorry. What do you say, Haiti?
Yeah,
I've
Haiti.
always said Haiti. Wow, is it Haiti?
Wow, that's wild as hell, bro. Yes, I mean I know that's Haiti. That's crazy though.
Okay, I've always said Haiti.
Anyway, that's interesting as hell.
Wow, but
Haiti.
do you say
That's
how do you say Hawaii?
bro. What do you mean? That's a different country.
No,
That's a
but
different language.
Haiti? What now I don't even remember what I just said. Why would you call me out on that?
You said Haiti. You just said the same thing.
Oh yeah. Anyway, Haiti. Now,
That's not
now I'm
important,
so
bro.
conscious saying Haiti. Don't do that.
You're still saying it anyway. You haven't changed at all. So let's
Oh,
pretend like I didn't do anything.
okay. And
Anyway, back to
yes,
the
so she pays
important part.
homage to her African, ancestry and um her Yoruba ancestry, and like she uses a lot of artists all over, right? A bunch of artists to feature on her album. She gets choreographers from South Africa to like choreograph certain parts, like all over. Like she really tried to cover different countries, people from different countries to contribute to that documentary and that album. But then she streams it on Disney Plus, where Disney Plus is not accessible in most of Africa. So which audience is she making it for? Do you know what I mean? Like,
True.
um, it was things like that that make me question: should we call it cultural appropriation, but we should not, or should like where should we draw the line? Because what was the point? She was like, "This is my gift to Africa." No, 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 no. She uses so much of she like tries to represent Africa like top to bottom everywhere, and then you can't even stream the entire documentary in any part in Africa. Like, how does that make
Yeah.
sense?
I mean, true, that sense. I don't know. The question is like, bro, is there like a African culture, if you really and truly think about it, is that even a thing? Because like
Oh,
it's like what part is it gonna be in English speaking Africa only? Because remember there's
there's like
French speaking
francophone, yeah,
Africa,
there's francophone
there's
Africa, there's
Portuguese
Portuguese
Africa,
Africa.
there's Arabic Africa, and like it's like
Yeah,
I don't
exactly.
know, so
And
that's
even
also
just
something
to,
interesting to
even
think
just
about.
to even just to like group in terms of directions, like southern, north, like west, east, central, it's just so different. Like the culture is so different.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's similarities that you could bring out on. And for me, the similarities that you can bring about is people's um people's mindset, people's openness, people's warmth. But these are all like, I don't know, like you can't, like Africa is so diverse as a continent, you can never group it.
Yeah.
And it's so funny because it's always the one that's grouped. It's
I
so
mean,
different. Like,
yeah, that's the thing, bro. Like I haven't seen Black is King yet personally, so I don't know like to what extent, if it just focuses on one part of Africa or like,
so
like the entire of Africa kind of thing.
it
What
doesn't,
is it?
it's so the documentary kind of just the way she's paid homage to Africa is in her, like the costume designers are from different parts, like the choreographers are from different parts. She's like the Afrobeat that she's used different artists from like Ghana, from Kenya, from Nigeria, from South Africa. Like she's gotten like authentic vocals like for pronunciation, like she actually used like recordings from the real artists and things like that. So that's where people were like, she's really like gone the extra mile to actually incorporate upcoming African artists into this documentary. You know what I mean? So that's where everyone was
Wait,
just,
so what is the documentary about though?
Black is King. It's like a documentary of how it's just basically music videos of her entire like during the Lion King movie when they remade, like I guess the version of a live version, Beyonce wrote an entire album, like all the music in it, like
Yeah.
they wrote the entire album, right? And she Lion King, and she called that her gift to Africa. But this documentary is literally about it's like a film. It's just a film, like sort of paying homage to like the Black culture and Black people, and it's like a celebration of her and her life and her kids and her family. Like it's a whole documentary. Like it's just kind of behind the scenes of her life and the making of Black is King, which is like the different dance videos for her songs from the music video, like things like that. Like it's just the behind the scenes literally.
Okay, it's not about Africa.
No, it's not about the continent at all, but like she uses a lot of African culture, like in the sense she uses a lot of Yoruba culture. She shows Oshun, which is like the goddess of water, like the mermaid replications of what Oshun is. Like, you know what I mean? They've used like different cultural aspects of Africa in the music video, which a lot of people call that for cultural appropriation.
People call that a cultural appropriation.
Yeah, people call
But
it.
people call everything cultural appropriation, to be honest. But
Okay, but
anyway,
for me, let me tell you what the biggest joke for me. I want to ask you. I want to ask you if this is cultural appropriation or not. Okay, I'm going to share my screen with you. I just want you to tell me because I'm curious to hear your opinion.
No, it's not. Yeah, people stay mad. It's not. That is definitely not cultural appropriation.
I don't
Firstly,
think it was either, but obviously
firstly,
I wanted you to say it.
firstly, every single person that is actually from the Caribbean was not offended by this. Like every single person that was offended by this was
Everybody else
American.
got mad except for the Jamaicans, and the Jamaicans were like, "I'm confused." Why is
Yeah,
it-
only Americans or Caribbean people that are not from the Caribbean got mad about this. And it's like, because she has one of the two factors here. She's the I guess power because she's white.
Yeah,
Like she's a white person in society. But bro, like she is not even like, she's not trying to make any personal gain off of this. Like this is not her like trying to make fun or
that
nothing. Like this is what the carnival is about.
was about
Like this
exactly. Like this is how people dress for carnival. Like,
this is the nothing of carnival, like is a celebration of Caribbean culture in London, and she is from London. And even if she wasn't from London, like I feel like, the big thing here is the hairstyle. So
yeah,
like
the thing is the hairstyle.
I don't believe in hairstyles, at least when used like this, to be cultural appropriation. Like this video I was watching on YouTube, it was just like Rasta guy, and he was basically talking about like how white people wear dreads. I think I showed you a video. Yeah.
Yeah, you did.
Anyway, so like he was like,
Give the listeners a sum up of what he says.
okay, so basically he was just talking about like dreadlocks forming in general. Like number one is like any person's hair can naturally form dreadlocks. Like once you don't comb your hair, it's going to be formed into dreadlocks. It's like a natural occurrence. Number two, dreadlocks does not like, yes, it does like originate in some way from African cultures, but that's mostly like, you could say in a sense that it was popularized at least to the West and like the rest of the world the most from Jamaican culture, and that came from African culture in the sense that it was part of the Rastafari culture. But then, not all Africa, like it's not even like again, as we said, like there's no such thing as a global African culture. Like Africa is probably the most diverse continent on the entire planet. Like in terms of one, it has the most country trees, and two is the most genetically diverse. But anyway, that's aside from the point. Dreadlocks is not like a African cultural thing. Like certain tribes in Africa had dreadlocks, and even the way they use it was very different to how people use it now. Like in certain tribes, when you marry, like okay, after you get married, you're not allowed to have dreadlocks. If you're a woman, you can have dreadlocks. There are different rules for different tribes. So I feel like in terms of that respect
I mean,
aspect,
dreads in particular came from the Bantu region, which is,
yeah.
you look at it.
And actually, that's even funny because in some places, people don't even call them dreadlocks because they feel like saying dread is like offensive. But like, I feel like that's like a more American type of thing, like they call them locks because they're saying their locks aren't dread. But in Jamaican culture, like your locks are dread for a purpose because it's like you are freeing yourself from the society kind of thing. Like your locks get big and fat, and you call them dreadlocks because you have power in your locks. You're dread, you're mighty.
Yeah. The
So I
concept,
feel like
a lot of
so I
in various African tribes that was like their sign of being a warlord.
yeah.
Dreads, the
It
thicker,
was
longer.
it was a big warrior thing too.
Yeah.
So in that sense, you could say you could say in some way like some black people are misappropriating dreads because they call in what it actually is supposed to represent offensive. So yeah, I feel like that's for context. And then the fact is like, yeah, I mean you can say black people like in some ways they were or what can you say, like disenfranchised to like wear their hair, like braids and dreads are seen as unprofessional for like a long time. And I would say the one time you could say, like the one situation you could say dreads are like cultural appropriation, or like braids is like dreads, braids, same thing, like same concept. I'm trying to like put it under. It's like you know in some like high fashion cases they might have a like a line with only white people wearing dreads or like braids, and then they call them like something completely different. Like they literally like take the braids and call them, I don't know, they make up some name like hair rope or some shit. I don't know. They say something, they make us look at, they take dreads and call that. Yeah, so there's a new style hair rope. And like, you have like just white people or like, it's just everyone. I mean, no black person is gonna go in and I hope no black models out there are gonna be wearing any kind of dreads and calling them hair rope. Please,
Please.
don't do that. Don't do that, please. But like I feel like in a situation like that, but like just having dreads, like on a day-to-day experience, I feel like, bro, like firstly, if your job doesn't allow you to have dreads, they're not going to take a white person with dreads. Like if in terms of that kind of discrimination, I feel like like when people say there's like that I don't know, that level of bias.
Mm-hmm.
Like I guess you can say it does exist because it's again it definitely everything trickles down to an individual level. You know, you can't say something exists in like a societal level and not exist on an individual level. But you know, I feel like it's not as deep, you know.
Yeah,
And
I get what
and
you.
like
I
in
know
the end it does more damage than it does good, you know,
that's
because
more harm than good.
at the end of the day, bro, like if you really want to be honest, like is from those same people that are profiting
Mm-hmm.
off of this cultural appropriation, is better for them if we are more divided than, you know, together,
Together. Yeah, it's true. I
you
agree
know,
with you.
because at the end of the day, like you could say cultural appropriation, this that, like bad publicity is still publicity,
But you know, I
and
understand. I I can't say I understand because, you know, like I'm not black, so I don't understand fully. But trying to see it from their perspective, I do think the major reason, or one of the many reasons why there's so much immediate, like they'll call you out immediately for culturally appropriating black culture, is because of how long that culture was seen as wrong, as impossible, as not a way of living, as not a rightful way of living. So now all of a sudden, when it's like just being popularized, and, you know, I mean, the concept of like cultural curiosity to try is so innocent, that such a big emotion that has been, you know, oppressed for so long, that is now coming out, it it surpasses that innocence of curiosity. So I understand, like I see it from, uh I see why it's so easy to jump on the bandwagon of just saying it's cultural appropriation.
yeah,
It was so, for so long,
honestly,
that culture was just not disregarded, and now it's like, oh, all of a sudden it's, you know, everybody wants to be black, everybody wants to dread their hair, everybody wants to walk around wearing dashikis, everybody wants to take part in the black culture and the black experience, as they like to call it. So, you know, when you say things, that's why you've got to understand that now all of a sudden it's like, oh, now you like us, like now you're good enough for, now we're good enough for you, now you want to be a part of us. So that's where that entire, like, you know, there's a bit of friction, and people come out to be like cultural appropriation. And so you've got to understand where that comes from, because for so long it's that entire aspect of expressing yourself was just not possible. It was not that it was not possible, it wasn't allowed, like, you know. So stemming from that way, and then now it's like, oh, everybody just wants to do it because it's cool, and it's like that kind of, you see where like everyone's like, what the hell, that's double
yeah,
standards.
exactly,
That's a bit of double standards. You didn't
yeah,
like us for so long, but now you like us, so you're going to take part. Come on, you know. So I see that. But then again, if we are going to want more cultural interaction, and we are going to want to, you know, like, I promise you, like, within the next 10 years, all the kids born from now onwards, they're all going to be born bilingual, trilingual. Like, get ready for it. Do you know what I mean? Cultures are going
mm,
to be broken. Like, everybody's going to be broken. We're going to have, like, the concept of being mixed race is going to be a norm. No one is going to be pure 100% blah, blah, blah ethnicity. Like, none of that ever is going to exist. So, we are
exactly,
blurring the concept of everything. So we should be willing to move towards a world where everybody can take pride and culture in everything, and there's not a single image that can associate to one culture. Do you know what I mean? Like, it's like,
yeah,
to me, it's like saying, oh yeah, obviously all Africans are black. Who's taking into account the whole of most of North Africa? Who's taking into account like Southern Africa, a little bit of it? Do you know what I mean? Like, no one's taking into
yeah,
account into the fact. So you can't associate race to culture, nationality to culture anymore, because people grow up in so many different environments. People associate to so many, they have
yeah,
platforms to associate to so many different parts of people's lives. So it's impossible to say one culture is only for one person nowadays. And I think that's what it comes down to. But so in a way, like, I get it. so people have to understand why it's so easy to call out the involvement
Yeah.
of curiosity as appropriation, but it needs to be conducted in the right manner. Because you know
Yeah.
what, like I'm pretty sure like a lot of like my friends who don't know me, like I've braided my hair before, like growing up in Botswana, like I've braided my hair many times, and interestingly, like no one in Botswana ever questions me for braiding my hair, and I leave Botswana and then everybody has a problem with my hair. Do you know what I mean? And
Yeah, it's crazy.
it's really interesting because I'm just like, I never thought of it, because as a kid, as a kid, that was the norm that I grew up around. I grew up around people having, you know, braids in their hair, of like people cornrowing, of like natural afro hair, like beautiful, beautiful, luscious hair. Like that's what I grew up seeing around, like dreadlocks. Like that was my norm. So all of a sudden, and like, what is it? Like it's the whole thing of understanding. But you know what? Like now looking back at it, I don't think I should be taking part in that culture like that. But knowing that I can defend myself because I have an insight to it that other people may not have, I think people should be given the benefit of the doubt to explain themselves before
Wait, I
accusing
have
me.
a few questions for you now.
Okay, ask.
So before I forget, why do you change your mind? Why do you think you shouldn't take part in it?
Because like when I came out and I realized like we still live in a little bit of a world where people are going to look at me and be like, oh yeah, she is brown, she's got Indian features, so she's definitely 100% Indian. Not to say I don't associate with my Indianness at all. Like if people presume I'm Indian and don't know like where I've been raised, where all my family's been based for generations now, like, you know, like I don't, it's not a big deal for me. But we still live in a little bit of a world, and that's the thing. I'm so used to a bubble where people know my story and I'm like, yeah, whatever. But when you leave that bubble and you go out in the real world, like people still associate me to what they are visually, what they visually can see, you know. So like Akil, you'll always be a black man before you're a black man from Trinidad, you know what I mean? Like, and for that, like your story doesn't, is like secondary. What they see is primary, like what they see first. And so I then like for a part was like, okay, like when I like, this is my ethnicity and this is my intention, like origin per se, I should be, I have more of a right over that than I do over this, is how I feel right now. Which is weird because this is something that I've been battling with for a young age. But this is not about me. Anyway, do you get what I'm saying? Does that answer your question?
Yeah, but I mean, I feel like you just said you have a reason to wear it. Then you just don't wear it because you're more like in some ways not necessarily scared, but like cautious about what people see
Cautious. Yeah,
before they could like assume something
I'm
about you.
definitely cautious. And more than being
But
cautious, I think I would like to believe I'm being considerate, because
yeah,
um
and
like I'm not scared. Like if someone was to come and talk to me about this, like I have photos up like of me with braids, like, you know, like people definitely can hold this me accountable for my actions forever, my whole life, because everything's so digitally documented. But like I would have no problems in having this conversation. Like I know I can defend my actions because I do believe I have a right, in a way I could claim a right to take part in a particular culture. But I do think I have to be considerate with where I'm supposed to be lying in terms of expressing my culture on a primary level, you know?
okay. So what I'm thinking is, right, is like to some extent, it's
Mm,
like I feel like the reason why you're cautious is because like someone wouldn't come to that as a conversation with you. They'll come to call you out and say
yeah.
why, why, because at the end of the day, like if I am being reasonable and I talk to you,
Mm-hmm.
like aside from anybody, let's say we're not even saying anybody could have braids, right? I'm actually talking to you about you wearing braids specifically.
Yeah.
No, I don't think any reasonable black person, like despite how I don't know how strict you are to some extent about this cultural appropriation stuff.
Yeah.
Like you literally were born and grew up in Botswana. So like it's like I don't know. I feel like saying something like that is like being like you are saying that. I mean, I guess you could say in the way how the world is, right? It's like people are being how the world is and not how they want it to be. You
Mm-hmm.
are judging someone like from just their face value, like and
Yeah.
not really like it's like looking at people as statistics, and
Yeah.
it's like I understand why you're doing that because the world does the same thing back to you. But
Yeah,
that is not the formula to make it change.
that's true.
Like that is not like if we're trying to make the world better, we have to be what it is we want to see in the world at the end of the day.
Yeah, I
So
agree. We
that's why I
we
feel
want
like,
an integrated world. We need to see integrated people, and
so
that
like,
includes
and I feel like that
having
relates to your
conversation.
point. That's the relates to your point that you said earlier, like when you're um is very hurtful, because I can understand like exactly where that comes from. Like you are basically seen as a villain for something, and then when everyone else
For
comes and
something
does
that I
it,
might have a stake or a right in, So it's hard to judge. And I think the reason why people come down so easily to call out people for cultural appropriation is because they don't give them the benefit of the doubt to understand where from whatever perspective they might associate or relate to that particular part of that culture. But
yeah,
having said that, it does need to be exclaimed and expressed in a respective way so that this conversation can even take place.
yeah, exactly. But
Okay, I
like
have a
I
question
was,
for you.
wait, hold on, I didn't get to finish my point, low
Okay, go,
key.
go, go.
So yeah, what my point was, low key, was that like I understand like where the concept of like we are like excluded from this in society. So like why is it now everyone gets to enjoy our stuff kind of thing? But
Mhm.
like as I always say, like that is not necessarily moving in the direction that's in the best interest,
Yeah,
because and at that point then I feel like every race could separate themselves about it to some extent. And once people also put their personal like experience involved, it's like everything will just become more and more separated. Because
separation.
then like an Asian person could say, black people make fun of us Asian people, so y'all should not watch anime.
Yeah.
Or
Or like
you
stop eating sushi. Or like,
you shouldn't eat sushi, you shouldn't eat ramen, top ramen,
yeah,
because, and then it's like, how are you gonna say that, like, that is, unfair, because how many Asian people were being attacked when coronavirus first came out, calling it,
exactly.
all these kind of stuff. The president called it kung flu, and then and then at so many levels, you could just, I feel like, like so many people could. It's so easy to have that rhetoric. It's
Yeah,
like
easy.
it's
And
easier
if you
to
have that rhetoric, it's easy to build up these walls of
and it's like easier
yeah,
to just separate everyone that
yeah.
way than actually working to, you know, to what we want to actually see.
I agree 100%. I do agree with you on that account. Okay,
Yeah.
but I have a question for you. Your tattoo, would you call that cultural appropriation?
Oh hell no.
Let the viewers see.
Shout out my tattoo, fruit salad, yummy, yummy. I'm not gonna tell these people what this actually means, so only authentic Chinese people could see that that's what we call real cultural appropriation. Come on.
So why'd you get it? What was your reason for getting it?
Damn, I'm gonna get so cancelled after I say this. Anyway. So my tattoos are in Mandarin. I got it because I looked up the phrases, and I just like went on Google Translate, and like I just put these phrases in a bunch of different scripts to see which one looked the best. And I thought it looked the best in Mandarin, so I was like, I'm gonna get it in Mandarin. So it was based solely off aesthetic value.
Okay. Would you,
But it's letters, bro. Like I feel like you can't say what these letters are my culture. Please. Can you say that?
what, that these
Come
letters
on.
are my culture?
Yeah, yeah, that these letters are their culture.
Yeah, because
So
people could say that because China
why?
Mandarin doesn't have letters, right? Each word is stems from visual representation and visual meaning. So
Someone translated for me directly. Someone that speaks the
yeah,
language
that's why I say,
directly
yeah,
translated it for
you've
me.
told me the story before. I think your tattoo is cool. I know the meaning behind it, and I like the meaning. Um, and someone actually did the proper translation for you, and I think that you know what, that's fine. Um, but
But
would someone, if someone was to
some,
stand in front of you and say that's cultural appropriation, would you agree to
no, I would not agree with them, and I will fight them till the death.
it?
So if you think so, hop on the podcast. We'll fight to lead that. Anyway, what I'm trying to say is like so many Chinese people I've seen. Okay, I feel like Chinese people. That's not racist. But yeah, I feel like just saying Chinese people sounds racist for some reason.
Oh, we're
Anyway.
talking about Mandarin. Anyway, continue.
Okay, but I know I just feel like it sounds racist. It's not
No.
racist. Anyway, so like so many people will come up to my tattoo and be like, "Oh my God, let me read, let me see what it says," and like they will tell me what it says.
Mm-hmm.
But if you don't speak Mandarin, sucks to be you.
Sucks to be you. Yeah, I know, it's true.
Yeah.
By the way, China's the future. That's a podcast on its own, and I have controversial opinions about that, and everybody will hate me, but China is the future.
Are you a supporter of the
Ni
Chinese,
hao, ni hao.
the Chinese imperialist state? Anyway, let's let's go. Anyway, let's continue speaking about what we were speaking about.
Okay, so wait, do you have I had another example for cultural appropriation and I can't find it. Oh, Kim Kardashian's kimono, but she changed her. She said she was gonna change the name of her brand of skins. I mean her.
Let's pull up the line.
I
Pull up.
don't.
Let's see.
I don't even think. Oh, well, I don't think I have. Okay, let me share my. Oh, wait. My laptop's on 6%. Hold on.
Let's see.
Go
As
back.
soon as I type in Kim Kardashian cornrows comes up, I'm dead.
Lol. Kim Kardashian. Okay, because the entire Kardashian family is really called out a lot for cultural appropriation because their entire lifestyle has been given to them, like in a way, because of the Black community. If you think about it, and
Yeah.
and like during like Black Lives Matter, silent. Do you know what I mean? Whereas they have Black children, like they have mixed race babies. Most of them have Black fathers, Black husbands, like, do you know what I mean? So
Let me tell you something.
how do you take part in the culture?
Kim Kardashian
Choosing
and
to take part in the culture some ways but not in the other, and is that cultural appropriation?
let me tell you something. Kim Kardashian and her entire family, they are cultural appropriation machines simply of the fact everything they do is profit based.
Yeah, it's
So
true.
obviously they want to have to culturally appropriate.
Yeah,
You
apparently.
know?
So anyway,
And
Kim K.
and and let me be honest with you, any celebrity that actually cares about their bag is not going to come and say anything about Black Lives Matter. You
It's
know,
true.
because because it's like, and the ones that even do come and say Black Lives Matter, it's like, okay, thanks for that post. My life is no different now.
Yeah, that's true. Very true.
you know,
Shouting. No one's listening to you.
it's like it's
It's
like nice. It's like
thanks for
Beyonce posted a black square on Instagram. Oh, real. So nice. Thanks, Beyonce. Let me like that. My life is the same now. Like my life has not changed. So you
sharing.
know,
Um,
it's like
yeah,
Kim
no, I
Kardashian
agree.
is just like, why am I gonna post a black square and lose money for it? It's like I don't care anyway.
Yeah, Kim Kardashian. Anyway, this is what her entire line was, but apparently she's gonna change. Um, she's changed the name.
Yeah, I mean, I think she was trying to be kind of cheeky and play off the fact that kimono has Kim at the beginning, so that like
Yeah, she
she
was like,
really loves.
"Wow, word
She,
play. I can name all my kids. Me and my siblings all have names in K, and I'm just a word genius. And so I thought of kimono. I am amazing, and I name my kids
yeah.
off of directions and cities because
Wait, hold on. Did she call it Kim plus Ono? Oh my
no, it was
god.
just kimono. Like it was just
No,
kimono.
no, I think it's now called Kim and Ono.
What? No, are you serious?
Bro, I'm seeing this thing. It says Kim plus Ono.
Oh my god.
I don't know. Is this Kim
What?
Kardashian? Fine, bro. Let's look up Kim plus Ono. That's funny as hell, bro.
Where does it say it's Kim plus Ono?
You didn't find it? Okay, let me share my screen real quick.
Share your screen.
Do you see this?
Kim plus Ono.
I don't know if this is Kim Kardashian stuff though.
I don't think that is Kim K either.
I don't know. That's
Zoom
funny as
out. Why are
hell.
you so zoomed in?
Because I'm just sharing a portion on my screen. Anyway.
I appreciate it.
Anyway, Kim Kardashian is the cultural appropriation machine. They do everything for the bag, so obviously they're gonna culturally appropriate. I mean, I heard Kim did free some black dude out of prison, so I mean that's something.
Yeah. Kim Kardashian is a lawyer while I'm sitting here paying millions to get a law degree. Yeah, she's doing.
Is she an official lawyer, no?
No, she's not an official lawyer.
Anyway, no one cares about that.
Yeah, please just not.
Simple. That one was easy. That one was pretty easy.
Anyway, so cultural appropriation and cultural sensitivity. I think we can actually close this off to say I think both of us have very broad lines for cultural appropriation.
Closing remarks.
Yeah, closing remarks, but I think we both have very broad lines for cultural appropriation.
No, I meant, did you have any specific things you wanted to say as your final, like your conclusion, you know? Like, just think of this entire podcast as an essay. Right now, you're in your conclusion.
Overall,
in conclusion, I'm dead.
So yeah, I think, no, but I definitely think, firstly, like, I think for me, it comes down to don't just be liberal, be open-minded. And if you're going to gain inspiration and gain influence from various cultures and you love various other cultures, that's amazing. And I think that's great. But, you know, you need to pay homage to the culture. So do it in the most respectful manner. Do it in a manner that the people of that culture would be proud that you contributed and showcase that culture in that light, you know? So be conscious of that. And like, it's important to be conscious of these things and not just do things for the sake of doing stuff. So I think that's the thing. Do it in the right light. Do it in, and like give credit to different cultures. If you took something from some culture, like give credit. Like it's so important for people to know. Coldplay, like in your little thingy, like at the bio of your video, please mention that which part of India, what temples did you go to? Like, you know, like that's the fact that those temples featured in your video, it could be a big thing for that temple to grow tourism in that locality. So, you know, you can contribute in ways that you don't know you can. Use your power and your numbers in the right way. So it comes down to those big things as well. What about you? What is your conclusion of my conclusion?
I have some bullet points. Don't forget your 2 P's, profit and power. Very important in making the claim of cultural appropriation. Start giving your brothers and sisters the benefit of the doubt, even as hurtful as it may be, because we want to be more together than we are separated, you know, spread the love. And if you're a white person and you're interested in getting dreads or braids, I would say probably don't do it because you get roasted. You, that's funny as hell. Yeah, but anyway, I think it's fine. I think it's fine, you know, once you taking your 2 P's into consideration. If you are the oppressor in this situation, please share your bucks with your oppressees, you know. Give credit and don't try to call anything any weird new name. If it already has a name, don't rename it to anything weird.
Exactly.
And call it yours. And if you're making any bread, share your bread with the people that are making it dough.
I agree.
Pause. Anyway.
The mic. Okay, thank you. Thank you for listening, everybody. I hope you all treat yourself to something nice for real, whilst listening to this podcast. Please
I hope you're still awake. And if you're not awake, it's time to wake up.
Time to wake up.
And that was a cryptic message, so think about it.
Okay.
Let's go.